What is up, everybody? I hope you're having a good day because today is going to be a fantastic day. Today, I'm going to teach you object-oriented programming in Java. Today, I am going to teach you object-oriented programming in Java. So, what is object-oriented programming? Object-oriented programming is a style of programming. So in programming, there are many styles of writing a program. There is object-oriented programming, there is functional programming, and also there is procedural programming. So object-oriented programming, or OOP, is intended to make thinking about programming closer to thinking about the real world, because we are dealing with objects, and objects are the same as objects we have in the real world. Because an apple in object-oriented programming is an object, so is a mark, but each has its unique identity. We can have two marks though. Let me draw. We can have two mugs that look identical, but they're still separate objects. Okay, with this mug and this mug, but they are still separate. They are identical, but they are separate objects, and they have characteristics. Okay, if it's a car can be red or blue. If it's an example of this mug, a mug can be empty, it can be full, it can be half. These characteristics of objects, they are also called attributes. Okay, attributes are just things that describes the current state of your objects. Okay, that is what attributes is. And they also have behavior. Okay, in the real world, a car moves, a mug breaks, those sort of stuff. Those are behaviors of your objects. Okay, but the main pillar of object-oriented programming is the concept of a class. A class is just something that describes what your object will be, but the class is itself the class. It is separate from your object, but it describes what your object will be. So the class is just a description of your object, or blueprint of your object. That is basically what a class is. So today we're going to teach you Java, how to create classes. We're going to teach you access modifiers, getters and setters, constructors. We're going to teach you all sorts of things that you have to know in Java programming language, especially the students who are in Salt Lake University studying computer science. They're taking a module called object-oriented programming in Java. So they have a test on Monday. The Monday, which is this coming Monday. Today it's the 3rd of August, I think. So they have a test on Monday. So today I'm going to clarify. I'm just going to make everything clear, make everything straightforward. It's gonna be beautiful. You just sit back and enjoy. So let's start creating classes. Okay, we're going to start with creating classes. This is how you create classes. So Java is an object-oriented programming language, so everything is about a class. So here we have a class. Should I increase the screen? It doesn't matter. So here we have a class. As you can see, we need this keyword here. It is the keyword class. Okay, but this class here, it holds a special function which is called a main function. This is where your program will start executing. So this class is very, very important because it holds an important method. Okay, so let me teach you the concept of an object now. We're going to create a new Java class and call it dummy. This class will have a public void make sound. Just going to teach you which is going to be system.out.println. No, the sound can't be hello world. It has to be like something like woof if it's a dog. So this class here, dummy, it has a public method which is called makeSound. So to create an object of the dummy, we have to go to our class that contains the main methods, because this is where the program will start executing. This is where your application will start executing. And then we just say dummy, let's just call it d equals to new dummy, and then we say d makeSound. We're done. We just run that. We just run that, and then we have created a class called dummy, which is a public method makeSound, which we created the an instance. This dummy here, it is an instance of dummy, and then we use the dot to access attributes of dummy. Okay, that's what we did. We just created an object of type dummy in our main function, which is where the program will start executing. Okay, now d here, it is an object of type dummy. Thus we can use this d, because it is an object of type dummy. We can use the d dot, okay, to call the attributes and methods of dummy. We can also call, we can also, if we have like int n equals to 5, here we call, first here we call the method of type dummy. Here we can also call n, but now we're just gonna need system to print it out. Give me a second. System. Yeah, there we go. We can call methods using the d object of type dummy, and then we can call attributes. Okay, that is what we can do. Now let's embed the idea of attributes. As I've said, you can have as many attributes as you want. So 5 is an attribute. Okay, let me just go make it clear. Let's say int is equals to, maybe like we should like make our function like more describing, something like that, right? What should we call our class? We can just go ahead and change it. Let's refactor. Let's refactor and rename our class to vehicle, and then yep, even that object has to change to vehicle. See, there's change to vehicle. So we're gonna go ahead and say, okay, a vehicle has wheels. Okay, that is an attribute. A vehicle has max speed, things like that. These are attributes. I don't know why we're getting an error there. Oh, because we no longer have n, so we can just say wheels here. This here, these are attributes of our vehicle. Okay, and we're gonna use the dot in our main function to call them using the d object of type vehicle. Okay, we changed from dummy. This is the beautiful thing about Java, that you can change around and of all these different things. So this is what we've done so far. Now we're just hitting the top, where we're not like doing anything. We're just hitting the top. We're gonna get intense after this. We're just giving you the ideas of what you can do with Java. Okay, we're just giving you the ideas of what we can do with Java. Now let's talk about access modifiers. What is an access modifiers? An access modifier is a way in Java and in many other programming languages of setting a level of access or restricting access. For example, our class here learn has an access specifier public. And public, what it means for classes is that it means that the class can be accessible by any other class. If a class is public, then it can be accessible by any other class. Okay? But if the class is default, then it can be accessed only by the classes in the same package. So if we just, this is still legal. Now our class is default, no. Now this is just, it's giving us a recommendation to make the class public. But this means that this class learn will only be available to classes in this YouTube package. It won't be, there's a solo package, there are more on classes, methods.hello. It won't be available there if we leave it as default. Okay, it will only be available to classes in the YouTube package. So we can just go ahead and put public. Now let's talk about access specifiers for attributes and methods. So here we are not using any access specifier. So access specifiers, like, they are very, very important and described in details in encapsulation, which is a pillar of object-oriented programming. It is described there in more detail in encapsulation. So when you leave it as default here, a variable as default, if we just say int width, what it means that that variable declared with no control modifier is available to any other class in the same package. That's what default means for attributes and methods. And then we have public, so we can use public. Okay, public means that it is available. No, I think I made a mistake. For default, if you leave a default, it's available to any other class in the same package. And then public, like this, it is available to any other class regardless of where that class is, but it has to be in this encos directory. So it will be available to any other class here. So we also have protected. Protected. We also have to protected int. This means that it will have the same access as default, but also here, if we have a subclass of vehicle, it will have like an access level of default. But the only difference is that the only difference here, it will be that if this vehicle had subclasses, the subclasses will have access to wheels. That's the only difference. Now we've talked about access specifiers. Yes, we've talked about an access specifier. Let's go ahead and let this be private. Private, which means that wheels, now we're getting a problem here, because wheels now is private and we're using it in wheels is private now, but we're using it in learn.java, but we cannot, because it is private and it's only accessible in the vehicle class. So if we try to use it here in the learn class, it will give them an error, because now wheels is a private attribute, a private variable. It is only accessible in this vehicle class. Let's go ahead and make speed private too, and introduce. So if now they are private like this, that means they're only available here. But what if you want to change their value or get their value here in our learn? What do we do? If we want to do that, we use something which are called setters and getters, which are public methods that you declare yourself to set and get public attributes. Okay, you use getter and setter to set and get let's remove the make sound and talk about getters and setters. So this is how to create. Let's say we want to get wheels. Let's just have one method, guys. That was one attribute. Let's say if you want to get wheels, what you're gonna do, because you are getting, okay, there's gotta be a return type if you are getting something, and it has to be public so it can be accessible to this class, to this learn Java class. So it is public, and it has to have a return type because it's a getter, and we're getting wheels, so obviously it will be, let's just go ahead and hit tab. Yeah, it just created everything for us. And let's remove the make sound. Because we're using make sound there, we're using make sound here, so let's just remove it there too. Hey, I don't want make sound. So here, because getter, we are getting a value, we have to have, now let's remove this. We haven't talked about this keyword yet, so let's not talk about it now. Let me just put it for the sake of just putting it, but we're gonna discuss what it means. I'm gonna discuss what it means later. So this getter here has to have a return type because it is getting, but setter, it doesn't need a return type because it just sets a value. So we're gonna go there, and then we're gonna say d dot set wheels, and then our vehicle is 5 wheels, and then we're gonna go ahead and then get the wheels. If we run this program, yeah, you will see that the program will set the wheels to 5 wheels, and then we'll use the get wheels to get the wheels. So get has to have a return type because it is getting a value. Now we've talked about getters and setters. That's basically it. That's the basic foundation of getter and setter. Now let's go ahead and talk about something interesting. Okay, let's go talk about something interesting. Something called a constructor. What is a constructor in Java? A constructor is a special method that is invoked every time an instance of that class is when an instant of that class is created, or when an object of that class is created. That's where the constructor will be invoked. So let's go ahead and create a vehicle constructor. Tap and say, I want to show you something special about constructors. System.out.println I am a vehicle. Nice. So like I'm using IntelliJ, so it does like it has like some sort of co-pilot where you can just hit tab and then it will complete the code for you, which is very, very nice if you are lazy like me, but I don't recommend it for people who are just learning programming. So now we've created a vehicle constructor. This is a special method which does not have a return type or an access specifier, and it is invoked when you create an object of an object of type vehicle. Okay, so when you create D, that method will be invoked. So what do you think will happen when we run this learn class again? When we run our main method, the vehicle constructor, which is a method, it will be invoked and then it will run. So every time an object of type vehicle is created, that constructor will start by running. As you can see here, we got the print, I am a vehicle. So that is a constructor. In C++, there's something called the destructor that will run when this object goes out of scope, but this is Java, and I don't think we have such a thing in Java. But if we were learning C++, we're going to discuss also a destructor, but this is Java. We do not have a destructor. We only have a constructor as far as I know. Okay, so we can do cool things with a constructor. Say, for example, you see the set wheels here. We can just go and remove it. Let's just, yeah, why is this so far? Okay, just go ahead and remove it. Okay, like this works even if you don't remove it. So we can go ahead and remove that and say we're going to use our constructor as a setter, and then we're going to go this dot width is equals to width. Voila. Now with that, now we're getting problem. Aren't we supposed to use width maybe? Okay, maybe the problem is that we still have this gate. We have to have the setter on the other side maybe. Yeah, let's just remove this and then enter 5 or 6. Now the error is gone. So we used our constructor as a setter, and then what we did that we passed the value 6 here. You can see we passed the value of 6 directly in the constructor. So we can use a constructor to initialize value attributes, right? I mean, like here we could have just called this method in the construct the setter in the constructor and passed a value there. But what I usually do too, because the constructor can be used to do many things. So you might need that setter public void set width. Really, you might need that setter though, because you might need to do this. Just do this and then just call the set width and then pass width. You might just need to do this because the constructor will do many things. There are many things that the constructor will do. So if you use like this dot width inside the constructor, you're gonna find yourself doing many things in the constructor, and your code it's gonna look tedious. So it's better if you have your setter and then you just call your setter in the constructor. So the constructor will know that you want to like set when you like pass this value using a setter, and then it will do it for you. It will call that method inside the constructor when an object is created. So that's what a constructor is. Now let's talk about static methods. Let's go ahead and talk about static methods. What is a static method? I think this has been eating me for a while. I've been wanting to discuss static for a long time, because we've been having people in class who are saying static means that something cannot change. No, we have a keyword for that, guys. It's called final in Java. If something is final, that means it cannot change. But static doesn't mean that something cannot change. Let's go ahead to our vehicle again. So if we have a static, let's go ahead and public static void public static void make sound again, and then no, we're just gonna system print the sound of the car dot print the car says vroom. Okay, we have a static method. What does this mean? When you declare a variable or a method as static, it means that that particular method or variable belongs to the class rather than a specific instance. Okay, this means that only one member of a specific instance exists. So if you have multiple objects that are using this, they will just be using the classes method, because that method doesn't belong to any instance. It belongs to the class itself. So if we have, so the beauty of using static is that if like doesn't, okay, let's go ahead and remove this code. I think we're done explaining getters and setters. This was simple. So if this is static. It means that it belongs, this make sound method, it belongs to the class. It doesn't belong to any object. So to call that, let's go ahead and delete this. So to call that, that method, we do not need to create an instance, because a variable or a method declared is static, it means that it belongs to the class rather than a specific instance. So to call it, we really don't need to create an instance. We can just use the class name followed by dot and that method or attribute. Let's go ahead and create another static variable. So I hate people saying static means that a variable cannot change, a thing cannot change, which is not true, guys. So if this is 5, you see me changing that value right now. Wait and see. So we called the method without a constructor. So we're gonna have vehicle.n is equal to 10. Let's double 120. Fine. See, I've changed that variable. Okay, that variable is now changed. Now we can go ahead and say system.out. You'll see that the value now of n will be 120 rather than 5. Rather than print and say vehicle.n. See, now the value of n has changed. It's now 120. But the very fact that we called it without creating an instance, it means that it belongs to the class rather than a specific instance. So you do not have to create an object to call that attribute or methods. You can just call it using the dot symbol or a dot thingy. Okay? It does not mean something cannot change. Static does not mean that something cannot change in Java. Let me show you. Like if you want to have something that cannot change, you can do static final and say pi. Okay? Say pi and say 3 point. Okay, now we're gonna have to make it a double. Okay, if you want, let's just remove static, because we're inside the we cannot create something static inside the class that holds the main function. Like I haven't explored, I haven't like looked at that, but can we really like, like if we create a method here, it has to be static, because you don't want to be creating an object every time you call that. But okay, let's just discard final. Now pi is constant. Now this final here means that this value, the one 3.14, it means that this value of pi will not change. Okay, this is what cannot change means in Java. If something cannot change, it has to be declared with final. Static, it just means that it belongs to the class rather than a specific instance. That's why if you're creating a method here, let's just call it void from learn. Okay, if we're gonna create a method here, you create it with the static keyword to show the JVM that this method here, it belongs to the class rather than a specific instance, because you're not gonna be creating an instance of learn inside learn. You're just gonna call it, and you now when you call from learn, you don't have to even say learn because you're inside learn. So you just use that method. Okay, we're doing Java here. So one popular class with a static method is the math class. Okay, so the math class allows us to do something like this. Okay, why the syntax error there? Okay, something like math dot. See, you saw how many methods are there. There's power, there's sale, which will round up. There's max. If you give it 2 numbers, it will print the largest one. This is max for long. There's ABS, which is absolute value, to like tell you the distance from 0 to that number. And then if it's negative, it will be positive, because distance is always positive. There's max again for floats. Now we're just going to use the square root, and then 25. You see, math is a class which is a static, which is a static, let's just say enter, which is a static method square root, which takes an argument 25. So we didn't get an object of maths, right? We just used its methods. So maths is a class which is which is static method. So this method here belongs to maths rather than as an instance of maths. That's Java in a nutshell, guys. I just wanted to get this out of my chest. Oh, this is gonna be a long video. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. It's gonna be a long video. Like, let's drop it here, guys, today. Bye. Oh, I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Also, subscribe there.